The Cycle Frontier has been out for almost a week now, and because of all the new influx of players due to bigger content creator names and just people finding out about the game that have been looking forward to it, I thought what better time than to release a video about some of the mistakes that I have learned myself, and I wanted to share that information so you guys can avoid them. I'm KingRaliant, and we're gonna go over these issues so that way you can be better prepared for your next match. The number one and probably the most important thing that I have seen from a wide variety of players from all across the games that have been starting to play the cycle has been W keying, or what is also commonly known as ego pushing. So what this basically means, if you haven't heard this before, is when you get into an encounter, you just want to hold the W key, gun for the target, and completely just go full on Kool-Aid man, bust through the wall and be like,
oh no, oh no, oh no.
Oh yeah.
That's not going to work really well in this game or in a lot of survival shooters per se, but especially in Cycle. If you do this a lot, you're going to find yourself getting killed quite often, especially if you're playing with a squad and you're going to be leaving your teammates behind. In a recent video, which you can find right here, I discuss how to play smarter and not harder and how to get ahead of the 1% per se. This is one of the things that I touched up on and probably the most important, which was morale. Quick little summary of that is be confident. Think to yourself, I am the best player on this map right now, and have that confidence to carry you to the victory, but don't let that control you. And what was supposed to be a positive mindset has now turned into ego, which is why we call it the ego push. So just be aware of this, especially if you're playing with a team, and even more so if you're playing solo, because then you're going to get really salty and you're gonna be like, wow, I really shouldn't have done that. Now, as you get into more and more of these matches, you're going to be coming across lots of items and lots of resources and materials that you're going to want to sell, especially when you start seeing the cost of everything that you can purchase in the game and how expensive some of that stuff is. However, stop, take a breather, take a moment. Don't just sell it all, okay? One of the biggest reasons is because a lot of these resources that you're getting in these materials are going to be useful for a plethora of things. Not only for just missions, but they're going to help you for crafting. They can help you for gaining certain faction points, and they might be used for something that's just decorating your quarters later on. You're not sure. So, rule of thumb, don't sell everything. Keep at least one, I recommend 2 stacks of just about every resource and material that you're coming across. This includes even the old Kmart currencies, the jewelry pieces, some of the stuff you can sell that you know you can easily obtain, like nickel, for example. You can quickly get a stack of nickel by going into a map, going in naked and just farming it and getting out. Stuff like that doesn't apply, but remember that rule of thumb, it'll help you out for the future. Going back to the first point where we talked about combat related things, I want to continue that, and we're going to talk about draining your stamina. Don't ever, if you can avoid it, drain yourself to 0 when it comes to the stamina bar. A lot of people are going to be able to hear you very easily and from quite a bit of distance, and they're going to be able to pinpoint where you are while you're sitting there regaining your stamina, which also makes you kind of an easy target. Don't get into this practice where you're starting to jump too much and you're starting to go crazy. Like, you know, a lot of games, I know they don't punish you for jumping. This game will. Use your stamina when you need to. Another good little tip to avoid this mistake, also, when you are regaining that stamina, crouch down in a bush or something, and if you're staying still, go gain that stamina back really quickly, or just walk a few steps while it gains back and kind of balance how you're using that stamina. Again, don't drain it down to 0. You're not going to be able to do much, especially if you get caught into a fight. You're basically going to be a sitting duck. Let us not forget about the insurance. This is a really big mechanic in the game, and I see a lot of players making mistakes when it comes to the insurance. If you can afford it, standard insure everything. The amount of K marks that you're going to spend to insure will always be less than the amount of K marks that you will get back if you do lose your gear. Now, if you do have arm and you're going to go that route of insuring your gear, do it to only your higher valuable gear before you go on that run and deploy. If you have one blue gun and you're easily farming green stuff, you might want to arm insure that blue gun just in case, because you might get it back, or you're at least going to get a bigger, beefier amount of K marks from it. So it ends up being worth it. Just don't forget the insurance. Adding on to the forgetting portion of this, I see a lot of players not focusing on missions and ignoring your progression. This is a really big mistake, guys. Biggest reason is because they reworked the missions. As I mentioned in my hype video here, that if you want to go give that a watch, you can. And one of the things I touch up on is the rework they did to the missions. They buffed them up and they made them really, really valuable. You get a lot of K marks, you get a lot of faction points. You just all around get good stuff. You get really good rewards. They're really good to do, so don't ignore them. On top of that, it's going to also level up your faction level. If you ignore your progression and your missions, which are your best way to get that faction level up, when the season 1 hits in about a couple weeks or about a week and a half, you're going to feel really far behind. So Don't ignore your progression. It's one of the coolest things that I actually like about this game, because it's not just go in, kill stuff, and then get out. There's actually kind of a progress to it. There's a focus and a goal that you can reach. So don't make this mistake of forgetting to do your missions and prioritizing progression. It's very important. Moving on from prioritizing, I want to say don't prioritize too much. And what this means is don't get greedy. Now, I know this seems like, oh, well, of course, KingRaliant, it's basic common sense. You should never get too greedy. I cannot tell you how many times in this game and just survival shooters in general, I played a lot of Rust and did this. This is where I learned this from. Will get into your head and you'll be able to go, just one more, just one more, just one more. You know, like, look, you're not Smeagol. It's not the one ring. It's not your precious. You can always come back and you can find another one. I promise you. If you get in this mindset where you're like, all right, let me just go out and get this, you know, it's right here, and then we can go evac instead of going straight to evac, you're going to be really upset that you went out to go get that one more thing when you could have evac and you lost it all because you let the greed take control. Be aware of it. If you find yourself in that moment, just remember it's better to play smarter and not harder. It'll help you out in the long run. Now, the last mistake here, I know might seem a little bit weird. Why is it a mistake in a video? But it's underestimating fall damage. I'm going to explain why I do see a lot of players sometimes underestimating fall damage and just falling in general. First off, a jump that you think you might be able to make, you're probably going to fall off to your death because you underestimated it. It's happened a lot of times. It's happened to me already on live. It's happened to my good friends that are really good players already. They'll be on vines and think that they're stable and they're not. It happens to everyone, yes, but like just remember to not underestimate that, because the fall damage in this game is brutal, and what you think might not give you some can end up taking half your health or fully killing you. And even worse, maybe, if it doesn't kill you, it could lock you in a landing animation. There's a sweet spot where you can jump down and not take any damage and not get any animation. And then there's too far where you take damage, and then there's the extreme where you fall to your death. Well, there's a spot like right here. You can't move, you can't dodge. You are like doing this Superman hero landing ordeal to save your knees per se. You're a really easy target. So that is one of the reasons why I put this in there, to avoid this mistake, because some people will, when they get in the heat of combat, just try to jump off the ledge, end up just killing themselves, or they'll end up getting locked in the animation and then just getting shot in the head. I don't want that to happen to you. What I want to happen to you is I want you to click that like button and click that subscribe and share this with a friend. And as always, guys, we'll be putting out some new videos later this week that will hopefully help you and some fun stuff. So be sure to check those out. And as always, stay shiny.